So good afternoon, everyone. It's an immense pleasure to welcome you all for the today's webinar session on the topic RISE with SAP Licensing Deep Diving. So this is Mahesh here and the host for today's webinar by Incresol. So I will be assisting you in case you find any difficulties during this session. Also, you can keep posting your queries in the chat, which will be discussed in the last 15 minutes of our Q&A session. So today, as a speaker, we have Mr. Nalini Kumar, the Director and the CTO of Incresol Software Services Private Limited. And so in today's session, we will be discussing about the RISE with SAP licensing overview, understanding FUAs and user types versus business functionality mapping, and the conversion of on-premises license to RISE with SAP FUAs. So now I hand over the mic to Mr. Nalini Kumar to take this session forward. Mr. Nalini, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mahesh. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so this is our second webinar as part of RISE with SAP, and hope some of you already attended my first webinar that gave a brief about RISE with SAP, what is RISE with SAP, and what are the typical benefits that you can expect from RISE with SAP and all. So today we are going to discuss more about licensing aspects of RISE with SAP. So we have a series of webinars in the coming weeks related to this topic. So today we'll focus more on the licensing aspects. So hope you are able to see my screen. I am on the presentation screen. Mahesh, my screen is visible to you, right?
Yes, Nalini, it's visible.
I'm on the slideshow. Okay, perfect. So today in this webinar, I'm going to cover a few of the topics related to RISE with SAP licensing aspects. I'll give you a quick brief about the overview of licensing, what are the different licensing components involved in RISE with SAP, and what is FUE. It's a new metric that SAP has introduced with RISE with SAP. So we'll discuss a bit more about this particular FUE topic in most of the in this presentation or in this webinar. And user types, okay, compared to the traditional user types that what SAP uses to sell the licenses in ECC or the on-prem S/4HANA versus RISE with SAP user types, that what are the different types of user types and how the conversion will take place and all will discuss as part of this. And system sizes, what is the link between this FUE metric versus your infrastructure sizing? That what also we are going to discuss. And some sample calculations, we'll see how the conversion, how you can convert your user metrics to the existing user metrics to the RISE with SAP user metrics or the unit of measure. And T-shirt model sizing of your infrastructure and the and FUE linking. So I'm directly jumping into the licensing overview. So typically the S/4HANA Cloud or the RISE with SAP licensing is divided into the 4 dimensions. It's like one of the dimension is it's more like your user access licenses. Like there are various types of users to access your SAP core system or the enterprise S/4HANA enterprise management system, right? So like you might be having the professional users or the worker users, project users, self-service users. That are the typical names we use it to hear so far in the on-premise SAP licensing aspects. So that particular user license conversion or the user access licensing will be part of one of the dimension. And the second one is a digital access license. This is more towards integrating your SAP system with any other SAP system or any third-party systems which are in the cloud or on-premise or wherever they are hosted. There's another licensing aspect of RISE with SAP. And the third dimension of the licensing is your infrastructure related add-ons. Like for example, as part of the T-shirt model, you will get some specific sizing for your infrastructure. And along with that, you want to go with some additional infrastructure. All those can be added, or additional services you want to add that can be added as part of infrastructure add-ons. So that's the one licensing aspect. This infrastructure licensing, we are going to cover some in the coming future webinars. Okay, so and the add-on modules. This is more related to your add-on solutions like treasury or the global trade management, or there are various solutions are there from SAP which are compatible with S/4HANA or which are deployable over the cloud or the in a sidecar approach. So those add-on module licensing aspects are the 4th dimension of this licensing. So in the today's webinar, our focus is more towards user access licensing of RISE with SAP. In the future webinars, we are going to cover the remaining 3 dimensions one after the other, considering the significant detailed discussion required on each licensing aspect. So we limited today's discussion for user access only. So what is full usage equivalent or full use equivalents? Okay. So far in the on-prem or the traditional SAP licensing approaches, you heard the word called professional user, developer user, or the worker user, project user. These are the different types of users you use it to have user types and use it to buy the license specific to that particular users. Okay. So because of that, what will happen if you bought 100 worker licenses, but you cannot convert them, those 100 worker licenses, to professional or professional to worker? These exchange is not that possible. So to eliminate these type of interoperability issues or the better utilization of the user licenses, the SAP has come up with called a metric called full usage equivalent. That's a new metric from SAP for the S4HANA Cloud or the RISE with SAP. So this is called, we call it as a new unit of measure for any usage measuring of your S4HANA system going forward. And anything will be measured as part of a factors of this FUE. Okay, 100 FUE, 20 FUE, 200 FUE. So single metric to measure your S4HANA usage, and you will be charged accordingly. And also the advantage with this approach is like you have the interoperability or interchanges, like you can convert user type one from to the other within the same FUE. That means no need to restrict yourself to a specific user type and keeping them unused. So if there are any unused user types are there, you can, it's like you can remove those users and change those users to the other user types within the same FUE boundary or the whatever the commitment that you have given to SAP in terms of FUE metric. I'll show you in the coming slides about how exactly it looks like. Just I'm trying to make you familiar with what is FUE here. And few facts about FUE is like when we go with the RISE with SAP subscription contract, we need to have some minimum FUE requirement. That means you need to commit for some specific number of FUEs to start with RISE with SAP journey. So for example, if you're going with the public cloud option offering of SAP S4HANA, then it's a 40 FUEs is the minimum commitment required from the customer. In case of with experience management in public cloud, then 500 FUEs is the minimum commitment. In case of private cloud edition, most of the customers fall under this category. So the 60 FUEs commitment is required from the customer side. Okay. So, and in case of you want to lift your ECC system from on-prem to the cloud into the RISE with SAP ECC offering or the RISE with SAP environment, then minimum 60 FUEs is the commitment required from the customer. So these are some minimum values you need to maintain when you are converting your license contract, existing license contract to RISE with SAP contract. And also another important thing is like once you subscribe with a specific number of FUE, you cannot downgrade it. You can always maintain that level or you can go upward. You cannot go downward. That means you don't have an option to surrender any of your FUE licenses. Okay. So more details will be covered in the next slides. So we're talking about the user types, right? So there is a change in the user types as well. For example, you can see on ECC side, there are different types of users like a professional user, business expert user, project user, employee user, worker, retail. Like this, there are n number of user types are there in ECC. So coming to S4HANA Cloud, we have only 4 user types. One is a developer access user, that is nothing but your developers who develop ABAP code or some add-ons using BTP or all that stuff will come under the developer access user. And advanced access user are nothing but who have the full permission or they can do any type of activity in your business activity in the SAP system. It's more like a professional user in ECC. You have a core user, core access user. This is more like most of your sales activities and advanced finance some of the finance activities or sales activities or the maintenance activities can be handled through these core access users. And self-service access users, they are more like a display-only users who can view the information or who can approve the information or who can do shop floor activities in terms of manufacturing and all. Okay, so what SAP has done is like the unified metric called FUE, okay, full usage equivalent. So any of these users will be measured under FUE only. So there will be a conversion factor associated with it. For example, if you have a developer access user, so how many FUEs it is going to consume? Okay, so the number of FUEs are nothing but here it's like 1:0.5. That is nothing but 2 FUEs will be consumed for one developer user. Suppose you are having one ABAP development user, you are using then that will consume 2 FUE credits. Okay. So whereas advanced access user consume 1:1, that means the number of advanced access user equal to number of FUEs, 1 FUE for 1 advanced user. And for core access users, the conversion factor is 1:5. That means 1 FUE can be accommodated up to 5 core users. Okay, so 1 FUE for 5 core users will be possible. So in case of self-service users, this is the most advantageous part of the whole RISE with SAP licensing. There is 1:30. That means 1 FUE for 30 self-service users. That means the conversion factor is much bigger. So if you have any only report viewing users, or you are only having the display only users, or some sort of approval oriented users, all those come under this self-service access users. Okay, so 1 FUE for 30 self-service users. That means 30 self-service users, if you onboard, then that just consume 1 FUE of your FUE balance or the FUE credits. I'm moving to the next slide just to highlight you some example. Okay, so for example, your organization is having 1 developer user and 40 advanced users and 60 core users and 180 self-service users. Overall, it is becoming 281 users. Then we'll see how much is the FUE count required when we convert our licensing from the existing licensing model to the new licensing model of RISE with SAP. So as we know, it's coming close to 60 FUEs. If you see that 1 developer user is consuming 2 FUEs and 40 advanced, most of the finance users comes under advanced access users. So all those will get 40 out of 40 FUEs will consume. And core access users, there are 60, the conversion factor is 5. That means that will consume 12 FUE. In case of self-service access user, it's 180. For example, you are having these 180 worker users, these self-service users, then by 30, it's nothing but 6 FUs. That means with 6 FUE count, you are getting 180 user licenses or the user access provision. So this is how this FUE count will be calculated based on the current user base that you are having. So I have taken the minimum FUE count that is applicable for the private edition, because most of the customers who are using SAP ECC for quite some time, the best fit for them is going to be S/4HANA private cloud edition. That's why I took this example as a 60 FUE can accommodate 281 or more than that. Okay, what is the benefit out of it? Why the FUE got introduced? What is the benefit out of this FUE model? So as I said, it's like you can easily change your users, reallocate your users as per the requirement at any given time. There is no restriction or there is no need to buy any additional licenses. Suppose I bought 60 FUE licenses from SAP, or I have the 60 FUE credits with me. Then if I want to reallocate, for example, I want to reallocate 10 of my swap, I want to reallocate 10 of my advanced access users to core users, then just I'll just like swap that minus 10 FUEs from here. That means I am getting reduced by 10 users on the advanced side. But whereas if I push it to the core access users, that is going to give me 50 core users. Okay, so once I do this reallocation, and my total user base is becoming 321 automatically. That means I'm not buying any additional license or anything, just my existing contract. Within my existing contract, I can keep change these user types from advanced to core or core to advanced, and within that, whatever the contractual FUE commitment that I have taken from SAP. Okay, so that's the most beneficial thing out of this RISE with SAP FUE model. Whereas in case of your current user licensing model of ECC or the on-prem S/4HANA, that you can't swap your user types. That advantage was given as part of RISE with SAP, so that you can anytime switch your users based on the need or the demand of business or the requirements without going for any new licensing contract. So the other part is like this area where it's like most of the companies are having confusion in this area. So what is the FUE? It's like which user type meant for which type of activity in your SAP system. Okay, so there are different module-wise bifurcation is there. This is a very high-level slide. Okay, the next slide is going to give you a bit more detailed one. So it's more like which activity can be done by which user type. For example, if you take the asset management module of S/4HANA, the process area of S/4HANA, the maintenance execution, like any maintenance plan executions or the maintenance tracking, all can be done by the self-service user. It's part of plant maintenance activities covered as part of this one. In case of core and advanced, they can do all these things without any issue, because the self-service is the least privileged user. The higher users can definitely get those permissions automatically. In case of finance activities, like any accounting document posting or anything related to the finance, all those payment posting or the payment clearings, all that stuff, all those things can be done with the help of advanced use only. That means the advanced user only can do this job with this license user, with this user type only can perform these finance operations. So the key point is like, you need to keep check on like the number of finance users in your organization. That is going to be the critical thing that will consume the number of FUEs straight away. More the finance users, more the FUE count will go, because it's a 1:1 translation. It's more like your professional user license. And in case of your HR users, or in case of your employees who are booking timesheets and some organizational management activities are there, all those comes under the self-service, or the core users also can perform those activities. And most of your shop floor or the manufacturing activities in terms of the production planning or the production execution, MRP planning, and all those stuff can be done by the self-service user. That's another big advantage. So most of your users fall under this category. So that is going to help you to optimize your license. And in case of modules like R&D and engineering, or the sales and service, those required from the core user license. Okay, any sales related activities that goes through the minimum core user is required, like your billing or the billing team, or probably your dispatch team, or your service team. They should be assigned with the associated with the user type called core use. Then only they can perform their operations. So that also you need to check carefully into while converting your licenses. Evaluate the type of user and what type of activities they are doing. Based on that, you can take a proper conversion metric or the measure to come to the exact FUE count. And sourcing and procurement in terms of self-service requisitioning, like PR raising and all, can happen through the self-service users. But any advanced things related to the sourcing and procurement will happen through core or the advanced user. Like any master data management or all those activities should be done by the advanced users. And supply chain related, most of the supply chain related activities by the self-service users. That means manufacturing and supply chain are part of self-service coverage. So that will almost cover your 70% of users, if I'm not wrong. Most of the cases we observed like that. So this is a more detailed slide. Okay, so we'll share this presentation so that you will understand this. The developer access is like core access users. You can see that what all they can do, or self-service. The most thing is like, first you can check the self-service access users, what all they can do. They can do the batch management, they can do the delivery management, goods movement. You have any empties management, is like more like your returnable packaging items, or the pallets or anything like that, that can be handled, or handling unit managements, maintenance execution, maintenance demand processing, all those can be handled by them. MRP can be handled by them, and they can also do the physical inventory access and all. Production related activities they can perform, and transportation related, warehouse related activities they can perform. So most of the main operations can be handled by here. The core user are a bit above level to the self-service user. They are more into the master data management and analytics part and planning aspects. All those will come under the core users. For example, pricing management, or the product development foundation, or inventory analytics and control, project financial control, or project logistics, etc. Quality management, all quality department will come under the core user access. Okay, and all sales users comes under the core user access. So like this, there are the set of activities we have. It's like mentioned in this presentation or the slide. We'll share across this in the post to this webinar. That would be helpful for you to map your nature of the user activity versus which user type they fall under. So most of your users comes under the core and self-service users. So here, so what we are trying to do here is like, we are trying to do some sort of a conversion example, license conversion example. It's like you currently in the on-premise license, you have a SAP S4 HANA or SAP ECC perpetual license. You have a user licenses, different user types like professional users, like the separate material codes are there from SAP professional, project, worker, or self-service users. And the package, it's like ERP package or the S4 HANA core-oriented license item might be there. And if you are buying any add-ons, okay, so the treasury and risk management, or receivables management, and third-party add-ons, or any third-party database you are using, like Oracle or MS SQL or some other databases, you might be DB2 or anything you are using. So all those comes under the current licensing. It's like a lot of it's like your current BOM might be containing 5 to 10 different line items of your licenses. How these current BOM will be translated in the S4 HANA or the RISE with SAP S4 HANA Cloud. It will be converted into the 3 sections. Okay. So your S4 HANA core license, that is nothing but your perpetual license, will be converted as a S4 HANA Cloud Private Edition license, core scope. And your metric full usage equivalent, that is nothing but all your user licenses will be converted to FUE. And your database license will be converted to the HANA database usage rights runtime edition. So these 3 will be bundled as your one single line item in your BOM or the material code, which is nothing but S4 HANA Cloud Private Edition. Whereas you are using any add-ons which are compatible or which are released as part of S4 HANA Cloud also, then they can be converted to the as this like target material codes of that particular add-on. For example, treasury and risk management, it is part of SAP S4 HANA Cloud for treasury and risk management private edition, or the receivables management is part of the S4 HANA also has the finance cloud for the receivables management private edition. So these particular BOM items will be converted to the target add-ons or the target S4HANA cloud released add-ons or the LOB solutions, line of business solutions. Whereas if you are using some solution or the add-on which is not released for S4HANA cloud or which is not available, in that case, they will go for the sidecar approach, or you need to go with the separate installation or the separate instance management. So for that purpose, what will happen is there you need to go for the digital access license of SAP to integrate that particular third-party solution with your S4HANA core or the S4HANA cloud. So, and the third-party database license point of view, if you are using Oracle, for example, then till the transition time of S4HANA or the RISE with SAP S4HANA, then the license you can continue. Once the transition is completed, that license is going to be terminated by SAP. In case you have taken the license explicitly from your side through a vendor, then you need to deal with that vendor in terms of managing that particular license or discontinuing that particular license. Because once you move to RISE with SAP, the database license will go to HANA or maybe Sybase based on the applicability. So once you are done with your top level licensing bifurcation or the or translating your existing BOM into the new bill of materials, then the next step is converting your user types, or you measure your user types based on the current usage to the target usage in the target environment. That is nothing but if you are using, suppose, especially the set of professional users are there for the financial ledger or account receivables, it's a different activities they are doing. Those will be converted as your as for an advanced user. Or some of the users might be doing the material requirement planning, and all those will go for the core use or the self-service users. So like that, you need to map your set of current user licenses and the current activities they are performing in your existing system, and the target S4HANA user types you need to map. Once you map, then you will come to know the total FUE count. Once the FUEs are available, then you will come to that, okay, my installation base requires this many number of FUEs. So from there, you can start your further steps in terms of planning your infrastructure or the going for the contract with SAP for the S4HANA enterprise management. So now I'm moving to the T-shirt model. So this is more for the infrastructure. Okay, so the infrastructure will be derived in 2 aspects. One, based on your FUE based infrastructure sizing, or 2, in terms of the actual infrastructure requirement. Okay, so in case of FUE based infrastructure tier, for example, your FUEs are coming, suppose you calculate if your FUEs based on your current usage, and it is coming around 200 FUEs, for example. So 200 FUEs are coming under the second category, second tier. There is nothing but up to 550 FUE. It's above 135 and less than 550. So you need to go with the XS tier, extra small tier. So it can accommodate up to 256 GB of RAM, this infrastructure, and for production and quality, and for development also will get up to 256 of RAM. And application servers, you will get 3. Whereas if your FUE count is coming around 60, there's a minimal FUE count is sufficient enough for you, because around it can accommodate easily 200 users or 250 users. Then most of you might fall under the XXS category. That is nothing but it's less than 135. So up to 256 GB of RAM you can get as part of the DB node, DB sizing. and up to 256 for the dev as well. But here the catch is like you will get only 2 application servers. That is nothing but there is no any QA system tier provided. That means it's a 2 system landscape, not a 3 system landscape. XXS is a 2 system landscape, that is dev and production. If you want, you can go for the as an additional cost line item, you can request for the quality also. But the t-shirt model or the XXS size tier don't come with the 3 system landscape. Whereas, so I'm moving to the next one. How the application server sizing works. So in case of application server, so it's like whatever the size we got it from the based on the DB size. Suppose XXX is the DB size. Based on that, application server also comes under this particular category. Okay, so you will get a for production 64 GB of RAM and 32 GB of RAM for development. There is no any quality system. Whereas other categories has a 3 system landscape. Only first it's like XXX category don't have a 3 system landscape. So here also you can increase the RAM or additional RAM you can request as part of the initial contract. So in the same tier, you can get the additional RAM allocated for your machines. So example, we can take the same example what we saw earlier in terms of the FUE conversion. So the developer, that's like it's coming around 281 user base. Current user base is coming close to 60 FUE. So 60 FUE, here it will become, so considering 60 FUE, the tier that fits to me is the XXX, extra small would be sufficient for us. And so we go with the 3 to 5 years of contract, because minimum 3 years contract to be signed as part of RISE with SAP. So either 3 or 5 years contract can be signed with SAP. So you might get a doubt that what will happen if my FUE requirements grow later in the coming years, in the future years. So you always have a freedom to buy more FUEs or increase the number of FUEs as and when required with a separate additions or the purchase from SAP. So for example, this is one example how this is going to work when your FUEs are growing year on year. So year one probably started with 60 and the requirement increased to 120 in the year two. So still you are on the 135 package. So no need to increase the infrastructure here. That means your infrastructure, if the infrastructure is suitable to the loads and then your FUEs are under control, then no need to go for the infrastructure upgrades. So you can straight away go for the additional 60 FUE purchase so that you will become 120 FUE usage for the year two. And for example, year three, it is becoming a demand requirement for 180 FUE requirement based on the user growth or the business growth or the various factors might involve. So if it is becoming 180 FUE metric is required, in that case, 180 is above 135. So then we need to change the tier of your infrastructure that should go to the XS. From XXS, it should be changed to XS from the year 3 onwards. Or it's not only year 3, as and when you crosses this 135, then the infra tier will change from here to XS. Okay, so the contract will be adjusted accordingly. And from there onwards, the new contract wise or the new subscription charges will be charged, imposed to you. So year 3 and 4, for example, here it's like up to year 4, 360 FUE usage is there for us. And year 5 is becoming 600. That means 550 only it can accommodate this current tier. Till year 4 it can accommodate. And year 5 we need to change our tier to small. That is nothing but year 5. We'll move on to this one so that your contract will be adjusted or the subscription charges will be adjusted as per the new tier. So that means as and when time progresses, you can keep upgrade your tires based on the FUE requirements or based on the infra requirements. Okay. So that's the one example how the growth happens. So, and also you need to understand, suppose you might get a doubt that, okay, so far you discussed about the DB and the application servers. What about web dispatcher? What about the other services required like cloud connector or etc. So the other cloud services also packaged as part of RISE with SAP. Okay. So SAP Cloud Connector, based on the requirement, if there's a necessity for this one, additional VMs will be spinned by SAP. And also SAP Web Dispatcher, if you are using your Fiori or anything accessed through internet or the outside the network, then Web Dispatcher VMs also spinned by SAP. And Fiori is generally, it's like in RISE with SAP, it's an embedded Fiori only. There is no hub deployment model. So you get your Fiori as part of your S/4HANA cloud system only. There is no need of separate infrastructure for this. And data provisioning agent, based on the, if you are using any specific services related to data provisioning agent, so then it will be installed on a separate virtual machine. And you are using any SAC type of product, an analytics cloud agent that is to integrate with your SAC system, so that will be also spent on a separate infrastructure. And data services agent, if you are using data hub or any type of services, those also will be enabled based on the need or based on your additional subscriptions that you are buying from SAP. So that's what it is mentioned here. For example, E and F, they are not part of the regular size RISE with SAP package. If you are buying any additional services of SAP related to these particular SAC or the data hub, etc., then these agents can be deployed in a separate virtual machines with additional cost. So in case of cloud connectors and all, you will get a two, it's like 8 GB RAM virtual machines for production and 8 GB for non-production, day one QA. And for the same way, it's for the this is star for the data provisioning agents comes with a 16 GB of RAM. And whereas the data services agent, analytics cloud agent comes with a 8 GB RAM virtual machine. Okay, anyhow, we are covering most of the infrastructure related topics in the next webinar. So the next webinar is related to the highlighting more about how you size your infrastructure, what all the additional components will involve, and also it involves a lot of cloud components, also cloud native components. Okay, so what are the cloud native components you need to purchase or as part of bundle as part of your RISE with SAP BOM. So all those details we are covering in the in another webinar that's mainly focusing on infrastructure. And also you can get more details about these cloud offerings in terms of the sizing and also what SAP is exactly offering. That is from the service description guide of RISE with SAP S/4HANA that is available on the SAP website. So it's a document of around 70 to 80 pages. It also highlighting a lot of licensing aspects as well as in terms of infrastructure aspects and also sizing aspects also covered in that one. Feel free to go through them. So that's all from my side. Okay, so now we can start with the Q&A session. Before getting into the Q&A session, so I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar. And if you have any queries, you can reach me on my email ID, kumar.n@incresol.com. I'm more than happy to answer your queries. Or if there are any confusion or the points left out in this presentation, I can cover up there in a one-to-one communication. And also we have more webinars lined up in the coming weeks. Okay, so the next week is like most of our users requested for the clarity on the greenfield versus brownfield versus hybrid decision making, on what basis we can take a decision whether to go with a greenfield, leaving the entire thing in the old system and start fresh, or can I carry everything to the new system as a brownfield, or is there any way I can carry partially and I can leave few things in the old system. So there are various combinations. So there is a lot of confusion going on this topic. So I thought of spending some time on this in the next week. Okay, next Wednesday I'm targeting on this topic, and also how you define your decision making pointers on top of it. So there are a set of questionnaires I can highlight in that one so that you can understand better that which option best fits to you. And on 2nd of August, I'm covering on the infrastructure planning and sizing wise. So what all the bill of material of RISE with SAP includes in it, and how you plan your sizing of your infrastructure. Now we saw that it's a FUE based sizing, but here it's more related to FUE, non-FUE based sizing, and also more about the different components involved in the in as part of the RISE with SAP BOM. And on 9th of August, I'm covering more about digital access licensing aspects. So how it will be measured and what type of digital access license you need, and how you can plan further on this topic. So that's all from my side. I'm opening the Q&A. Please, you can drop your questions in the Q&A box so that I will be more than happy to answer your queries.
Yeah, Nalini, thank you for the session. And we have a few questions. So the first question is, what about HANA database? If this all is in cloud, then what are the expense for the same?
Sorry, Mahesh, the question is not clear. If I understand correctly, it is saying that the customer is already on cloud and using a HANA database, and how this is going to be considered when they are moving for the RISE with SAP. So this is what I understood. Hope the query is same. If that is the case, it will go in the same way like any other database only. Okay, so RISE with SAP, it's like considering current HANA database licensing is a different structure and RISE with SAP is a different structure. It's a subscription model. So it will whole license will be converted as a subscription model licensing, what I discussed as part of the initial slides. Like it will be first measured as FUE and the infrastructure sizing, and whole will be bundled as one subscription cost for the 3 years or 5 years, and based on that it will be divided as a subscription payments. But there is no specific exemption for that. It will go as good as like any other on-premise system.
Okay. So we have another question. So can I change the additional FAU or tire in the middle of an year?
You can do that. Suppose it's as good as like you're buying user licenses in middle of year, right? Suppose you want 20 user licenses, worker licenses, you buy anytime by calling your account executive of SAP or account manager of SAP. Same way, you can increase that. Only thing is like if it is crossing the tire, then there might be some sort of a delay or the discussions might happen. But anytime you are open to increase your FUE licenses.
So this is another question. What is the minimum block size of FAU to be purchased? My user assessment is coming less than 40 FAU. Is there any way to avoid minimum FAU slab?
Unfortunately, no. Okay, so the minimum FUE for private edition is 60 FUEs, whereas the public cloud it is a 40 FUE. But if you are already using SAP ECC with the high customizations and all, then you will fall under the private edition criteria. So in case of private edition, the 60 FUE you should purchase to start with the contract, and you can go above that only. You cannot go come below that. So there is no chance. Even though you are consuming 40, you are going to pay for 60. But you have a leverage to add more and more users based on your business use cases.
Okay. And the question is the hardware sizing purely on the FAU based? What if my data size is high and not fitting in the T-sets model?
Like there are infrastructure add-ons are available, so those add-ons can be purchased, and those add-ons are going to complement the issue that we discussed now. The FUE versus it's coming as 256 GB, but whereas you want a 512 GB RAM, so that is possible through infra add-ons. So that's not an issue. We can add more infrastructure as well.
And the other question is, can I surrender the additional FAU subscribe?
No, it's not possible. Once you purchased, you need to carry it with them. That's what I said, that you cannot downgrade your FUE count. It's keep on increasing only. So suppose today I'm on 80 FUE, so I can go with the 80 above only. I cannot come down by surrendering 20 or something like that. It's not possible.
So the other question is, SAP license fee collected from every year, January to December as an advance. For suppose, whenever customer move to S4HANA in the middle of the year, they are returned the AMC fees as per rata basis.
Yes, that's going to happen like that. Suppose middle of the year, suppose I started the journey of my S4 transition, for example, in the month of February, and suppose you made live by September or October, something like that. So till whatever the period you are using your regular on-prem or the ECC license, that will be prorated till that time, and the balance amount will be converted to the new contract.
How will be the licensing of add-on solutions and the impact of user licensing with respect to them?
Like add-on solutions does not have any impact on the user types, because any LOB solution of S4HANA, if you take it, that does not have any impact. Okay, until unless the users created for that particular add-on solution are going to access the S4HANA core features, then the regular user licenses come into the picture. If the user is restricted only for that particular add-on, not using any of the core features or the core functionality, then that user won't be counted under your FUE metric or FUE measures. Whatever the license you are paying for LOB is going to cover that users. No separate user licenses are required for that.
Okay, Nalini, these are the questions as of now. We'll wait for a few minutes, like if you
Sure.
get any questions. Nalini, we have another question.
Yes,
Is there any
please.
slab for additional FUE?
Slab is not there. It's like you need to purchase in a minimum blocks. Okay. So as per my knowledge, it's that a minimum 10 block size is 10. I think looking like there are no further questions, Mahesh. Okay, so I think we are good to wind up. So thank you all. Thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed the session. We are keep on coming up with more and more webinars on the S4HANA topics. Please visit our website and enroll from there, or you can you will keep receive mails from our marketing team. So feel free to join our webinars and have a good takeaways. I wish you a happy evening. Thank you all once again. Bye bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Nalini.